Now I missed that morning show. Morning shows nowadays are just nothing compared to it.
No, they were so funny.
They try, but like the forced laughter in the background just doesn't.
I'd be walking up to school, my headphones on, looking like I escaped from Western Psych, just laughing at myself.
All right, we ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
So this is a behavior that for us came out of the pandemic, and I promise I'll tell you about the sloth act, and it won't be all behavior. We were closed for several months, and we knew that in the wild, this is a species that reaches out and grabs a tree branch to feed itself, like you saw Wookie doing earlier. And Valentino specifically likes to reach out and grab things. When people would come to do the encounter, he'd reach out and he'd be like trying to take cell phones. So, you know, we had to set up like a distance away you had to be. Anyway, we thought since he's not getting the guest interaction anymore, what if we tried painting with him? Because we have parrots who will paint with their beaks, penguins who will run through with their feet.
Oh, I love it.
And he picked up the behavior in about 2 weeks. And all we started with was hand him the brush and have him give the brush back.
Yeah.
And repeating that. And then the next thing was when we had that down, show him the canvas and see if he touches it, and you got a treat for that. Then it was touch and move. And after he was doing that, pretty consistently,
Gold-nosed sloth.
there you go. After he was doing that pretty consistently, we added paint, and then after that, we started adding people. Just like when you're practicing for a speech at school or for work, you know, you always start with smaller groups and work your way up. It's the same idea with our animals. Everybody you saw on the show today was practicing in an empty theater, and then practicing in front of 2 people, 10 people, 20 people, full theater, that kind of thing. So this is a Linnaeus two-toed sloth. All 3 sloths that live here are Linnaeus two-toed sloths. There's 2 species of two-toed sloth, 4 species of three-toed sloths. And to further confuse things, all 6 species have 3 toes on their back feet. So when we're talking two-toed versus three-toed, we're talking about the front feet. So I would argue that they're more 2-fingered sloths than anything else. But two-toed sloths, you have Hoffman's and Linnaeus. And this is the Linnaeus. So how's that for gold? You guys
That's
want more of that on there?
Perfect.
I mean, if all 3 of you like it, then we can fight over who's getting which one later. That's really what I'm here for, is the chaos. So, this is a very passive hang, the way the sloth is built. So they got those nice long claws you see there. He also, the way the tendons work and the muscles in the arm work, he's not holding on. You know, if you're hanging upside down like that, your arms are going to get tired, you're going to fall. With him, he doesn't have to worry about that. It's actually not uncommon for researchers to come across sloths in the wild that have passed away and are still hanging. They just kind of lock into place. It's basically a coat hanger. So he does the other encounter as well, which he works from this perch from. And what he's doing right now is he's looking to see if he can get treats for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we use positive reinforcement, I think I mentioned it to you too, but maybe not the gentleman. He has a choice in everything. He only gets treats in this encounter on that specific perch. So he can do whatever he wants. When he wants a break, all he has to do is move somewhere else and he gets the break. But if he's doing something other than what we're looking for, he won't be punished, he won't be grounded. He just doesn't earn the treats. And when he goes back to where he wants, he'll get the treats. And that's kind of how these guys learn. Very similar to how we go to work and we get paid. The problem is we got to go, 10 times between each paycheck?
Yeah.
So. Although here at the aviary, free food in the break room, I think everybody that works here would probably just show up. Oh yeah, because it's a fun job.
Oh, oh.
It's like, okay, okay, fine. You may look as you're seeing here, notice how he's kind of fluffy on his bottom. And Wookie for sure was fluffy back there. His fur actually parts on his chest. Our hair parts on top of our head one way or the other. Your dog or cat at home, it parts down the back. And the reason why is when rain hits, you want it to run off smoothly. He's hanging upside down, you want it to run off of his back instead of his belly. They spend their whole lives upside down the whole day. Once every 7 to 10 days for a wild sloth at the aviary where the nutrients in the diet's a little higher, it's every 4 to 5, they'll go to the bathroom. It's the only time they really come down out of the tree, and it's pretty much the only time you will see them what you and I would consider right side up. Because of how he's built though and how his muscles work, when he's on the ground, it does not look normal, so it doesn't look right side up. They're very slow, and that's when they're exposed to most of their predators. Enough gold?
That's perfect.
This is so cool.
He is trained to let Jared wash his face too, as you can see here. You'll notice that Jared gives him a treat before he does that. You know, the one thing he's lucky about, when I was little, my mom would lick the napkin and then wipe my face off. He at least gets fresh, clean water instead. That won't be the last one that goes on his face. We haven't used brown in a hot minute, so I'm sure that'll get eaten. They're not very, they don't have a lot of color vision. Their eyes are full of rods instead of cones. So rods help you pick up light, cones help you pick up color. And they don't have a lot of muscle in the eyes either. So you'll notice his pupils don't really dilate or constrict. They're just kind of like little pinpricks. So every painting he does is in his gray period. And he's very scent driven, so you'll notice that's why like every paintbrush is going to his nose. He's like, what flavor are we painting with today?
Does he have a favorite color? The scent of a favorite color?
Generally speaking, the blues and the greens end up on his face and in his mouth the most because they're suspended with an egg base. Sometimes the purples as well. Any color we haven't used in a while, like the gold and the brown, usually ends up there too. So we will see what happens when we move to brown here in a moment. We got one more gold.
Making a real mess today, Val.
But as you can see, this is a behavior he enjoys doing.
He looks enthused about it.
Yeah.
Give me the next one.
They are a lot fuzzier than you realize.
Mm-hmm. They are. And you know, that fur has a purpose too. Every piece of fur actually has a small channel in it. And the whole purpose of that channel is allow algae to grow. So again, watching those David Attenborough specials, you'll see these guys, they look green a lot of times, they're really dirty. They also look like they're infested with bugs. And that's because they are, but it's not harmful. There's a number of different insects, beetles, and things like that that do make their home in a sloth's fur. There's 2 species of sloth moth that will do it as well. And when he comes down to go to the bathroom, or when a wild sloth comes down to go to the bathroom, those moths hop off, they lay their eggs in the droppings, and then when they hatch and go through their larval phase, eating the droppings, they fly up and they look for a sloth's fur to live on, and end up fertilizing the fur for the algae to grow on. So sloths are actually their own little ecosystem within the rainforest ecosystem. Isn't that crazy?
That is
That's kind of
crazy.
cool, yeah.
Okay.
So is his fur then very coarse and like
It's-
bristly almost, or?
It's not. He's I'm going to say this and then you're not going to be able to touch him to verify. He's incredibly soft.
Really?
Yes. I would assume, having never touched a wild sloth, that in the wild they're probably real bristly and kind of like stiff. But the guys that we have here are not, just because for us to keep it moist enough for all that to happen, you know, we're indoors. There's a number of reasons why you don't want a damp environment inside a building.
And does he ever get bathed, or is it just all self-care?
He does largely self-care. We do have a sprinkle system set up where his habitat is. So he has the option to get a bath if he wants to. He also has a tub of water that we'll put in every once in a while. More often than not, when we're deliberately trying to give them water to bathe in, he goes away from it. But when they're hosing out the habitat, like because he went to the bathroom, that's the stuff he'll climb down in and try to play in and bathe in. It looks red, it will dry brown, I promise. But when he puts it on his face, we'll still let our team know that, hey, he painted with brown today, it's going to look red. He does not have a nosebleed. How's that for...
Looks beautiful.
It's better than Hunter Biden.
Did I get on the back of that? My goodness, such a mess. You guys are going to get a chance to take your photo holding him too, or holding the painting near him, not holding him. And you'll just have to watch these corners. normally I do that part, and we have one of our volunteers doing this part, and I've never appreciated how hard this is until right now. 'Cause there's like paint everywhere. It's all over my hands. Probably be on my sweater by the time we're
I'm
done.
a 3-year-old.
Oh, speaking of age, he's about 6 now. He's named Valentino because he arrived at the National Aviary on Valentine's Day. He was actually born on Halloween.
Oh, wow.
Vivian was named by the same donor, and his favorite actress was Vivian Lee from Gone with the Wind. That's where her name came from.
Okay.
And Wookiee was named Wookiee at his previous zoo, although I think he looks more like an Ewok than a Wookiee. But anyway, that's the name he's had. One of our bosses, Krista, actually worked at the zoo that he came from.
Oh,
She was here
wow.
for 4 or 5 years, and then he showed up, and she already knew him.
Oh, wow.
So she was obviously one of the primary trainers, you know.
There are 3 browns, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good call.
Well, he's getting into it now. He's not even sniffing anymore.
The last time we used brown, he put it on his face so deeply that he had it in his nose.
Oh, you had gold there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how's his grip? If you didn't want to give that to you.
He wouldn't give it to me.
Yeah. Jared's a big guy, but he's not
Give?
strong enough to tear it from his hands.
That's what I was wondering.
Which makes it even more incredible when you think about one of their main predators in the wild is the harpy eagle. Harpy eagle is large enough and strong enough to pull him out of the tree.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're an impressive bird too.
Very impressive bird.
We don't have one. We keep asking. And our boss is like, I would trade one of you to get
I would make another trip back down again to see it. Not that we probably won't anyway. But I can't count the number of times we've been here. You can say we were walking through. He goes, "This place is so much cooler than the zoo."
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Appreciate
I mean, we think so too, but we are a little biased, so.
that. Yeah.
People don't believe us when we say it.
He's going for it, Mom.
There's yours for you, black and gold.
You would think more people pick this color combination here, and nobody does.
Really?
No, I mean, and that's the thing too. Like, you can't go anywhere in this city without seeing black and gold everywhere.
Right.
And you end up a fan of the local teams whether you want to be or not. So, well, if you're born here anyway.
Because of where we live, it's kind of split between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. And
Go ahead.
yeah, and Sam's treatment was in Philly. And so the first couple times we went down, he would wear his Penguins stuff. I said, Sam,